What up, YouTube? It's your boy Darius. I want to thank you guys for watching. You guys could be anywhere else in the world, but you're hearing me, and I really appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe to your boy. Leave a like. If you guys any recommendation, leave in the comment section. I get to it as soon as possible. What I'm about to do right now, I react to Why You Should Respect Previous Errors by Jonny Arnett. As I said before, Jonny Arnett is one of my favorite, actually one of my favorite basketball YouTuber. For several reasons. Like one, he had high basketball knowledge, and two, he actually makes you think like, You know what I'm saying? And I know he gonna come through with a great feel right here. I actually like him more than Chimmy Highwaller. And I had huge respect. Nothing but respect for Chimmy Highwaller. I just feel like Chimmy Highwaller, he got he had that little bias, he think he's more biased towards LeBron James and them. And LeBron is a great player. Andy Hoop is definitely a great YouTuber. Highly intelligent. All three of them are great YouTubers. I highly recommend it. I recommend all three of them. But Jonny Arnett, I guess he gave it props to the old schoolers as well as the new school and everyone in between. You know what I'm saying? He feel like everyone deserves props, even the player that you don't think about. So that's what we're about to do right now. We're about to check out this video. Enough of me blah blah blah. Let's get to it. Kobe, man. Man, that never gets old, man. Look at Curry and LeBron James. Michael Jordan. I know my dad say he's the GOAT. No. He said Kareem is the GOAT, but Michael Jordan is a GOAT to me.
You've heard it, and I've heard it.
Yep.
The idea that players back then were slower, weaker, and smaller than modern-day athletes.
And that's bullshit, too. Of course, I'm sorry for cursing, but like I said, every era has something unique to them. Even today's era is unique because players are more fast paced and everything, and they're more shooting oriented. While back then, they're more defense. More handle. Of course, they shoot threes, but they ain't focus too much on threes. You know what I'm saying?
It's somewhat accurate, probably. Is it also grossly exaggerated?
Yes.
Probably that too. In the past 10 years of modern NBA basketball, the average height of the NBA player is 6 foot 7 inches tall and weighs 220.7 pounds. In the 10 years of the 1980s, the average height was also 6 foot 7 inches tall, and the average weight was 207 pounds.
That's true. Basketball players, they didn't have sports medicine and conditioning like they do today. That's why LeBron James is able to play for so long, able still to be great for so long. While people like Kobe and even earlier era, people like Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas, they could continue even after 13 years or 14 years? Yeah, 13 or 14 years. Imagine what Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas could have done with LeBron James medicine.
They stood just as tall side to side to one another. The major difference was the weight of the players at nearly 14 pounds less.
That's true.
Simply put, this difference was usually made up of muscle mass. Modern players have an advantage with modern training methods, eating habits, and fitness routines.
I said that. Modern training, modern medicine, modern training, eating habit, and everything. These were much different in the in the 80s and in the 90s. Even in the 60s, because I know people back then, they did drugs. Well, not everyone, but you know what I'm saying. They did cocaine and everything. It was available, but nowadays, they don't do drugs. They focus on sports medicine and everything. They get them to last longer, which is ironic because some players are just more fragile than ever. Look at Anthony Davis.
The 80s were simply skinnier, but many of them were still very athletic and had lean muscle. They just overall looked a little less physically imposing than today's players. This has partially
Which is ironic because player back then were considered tougher than player now. Player now have all the muscle, but they ass want to flop. While player back then, they give an elbow. It's what's that? Huh? Elbow back.
Newer fans to criticize this era when they're looking at some of the most non-threatening and least athletic players of the 80s. They'll say things like the league was packed with part-time plumbers and accountants.
I hate that term.
Hate it.
I hate that term, plumbers, accountant, all that, because they using that in a way to dismiss, their talent, you're not playing nothing but them. Even because okay, there are two things. Bob Cousy said it best because he was defending the plumbers. there are two things. The first thing is, basketball player back then, they weren't getting paid like the players now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Give Bob Cousy $30 million, like you're planning to give Ben Simmons. You know what I'm saying? But Bob Cousy never made that money. So in the summer, they had to work like side jobs, like plumbing, electrician, accountant, and all that. And that's what go for majority of basketball players. They weren't getting paid like a decent amount of money. You know what I'm saying? And two, all these so-called plumbers paved the way for a player today. So a player like Bob Cousy, who was a plumber, he paid the way for guys like Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, Kyrie Irving, AI, even Steph Curry. So put some respect in their name for all these plumbers.
When people say this, though, because it's easy to take small samples and condemn an entire era for it.
Exactly.
It's almost like when people think of the state of athleticism in 2020, they automatically think of Giannis. And when they think of the state of athleticism in the 90s, they think of Jeff Hornacek.
Which is stupid because Jeff Hornacek was actually really good. He was a great shooter and also defensive player. As a matter of fact, I was just discussing it with my group, with the Facebook group I'm in. And guess what? 1998, they swept Kobe Bryant and Shaq. Granted, you can say Kobe Bryant was only 20 years old at the time, and Shaq was starting becoming his prime, which is true. But that still don't change the fact that the Utah Jazz swept the LA Lakers in 1998 at the Western Conference Finals. That doesn't change.
The problem with that is that it's erring on an extreme example and isn't a proper survey of the athleticism of the league as a whole at that time.
Exactly.
Want another example? Picture 20 years from now. People are hating on LeBron James, saying he didn't play in a strong era of real athleticism, and here's their future arguments. How strong is LeBron's era in 2016 when he lost the MVP race to a guy who struggles to dunk a basketball? How strong could that era have been when one of the best players in the league was someone who was consistently overweight? In LeBron's era, he played against plumbers like J.J. Redick and Kelly Olynyk. How weak were the athletes?
Or J.J. Barea, J.R. Barea, and what's his name? Damn! I just had. He played for the Mavericks. He had a headband on. I can't think of his name. I can see him too. I see him too.
Bronze era, if a guy who was only 5'9" tall could average nearly 30 points per game.
That's
Don't
true.
you guys see how ridiculous and biased these statements are?
Yeah, that's
Although
stupid.
Many of the statements are true to an extent, they're cherry-picking details and acting as if it's the complete picture. They're completely lacking context, but statements like these are usually just emotionally motivated agendas in order to build a negative narrative about a player that they don't like as much as their favorite player. People do this all the time with the 1980s.
That's
but
true.
When you look around the league in that era as a whole, you see guys who were incredible athletes, like Dominique Wilkins, Kenny Skywalker, Michael Jordan, Daryl Dawkins, Charles Barkley, Gerald Wilkins, Julius Erving, Sean Kemp, Xavier McDaniel, Hakeem Olajuwon, Karl Malone, James Worthy, Tom Chambers, Darrell Griffith, David Thompson, Terrence Stansbury, Clyde Drexler, Larry Nance, Dennis Rodman, Orlando Woolridge, David Robinson, Roy Hinson. Seriously, do I need to keep going? Many people
I think what's lacking today.
Weren't watching it.
I think what's lacking today is the dunks. That's why the dunk contact is not as good as it was because players don't dunk anymore. They just, or if they do dunk, they just simple dunk. Players don't dunk the way like Dominique Wilkins or Michael Jordan dunk or Dr. J dunk. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I love about basketball. It's a slam dunk. Not so much a 3-point, although I do love the 3-point, but so much of a slam dunk because it's just so exciting to watch. But that's just me.
Time to know about a lot of the freakishly gifted athletes of the 1980s, just like how 20 to 30 years from now, many people won't know about many of the great athletes we watch in today's game.
And that's why Jonny Arnett is one of my favorite basketball YouTubers because he gives a shout out to all the great players for back in the 80s. I wish you would talk more about the 60s and the 70s because people really had to disrespect the players for the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, not knowing how great they truly were. Like, they disrespect people like Dolph Chase, Bob Cousy, Tommy Heinsohn, John Havlicek, and all these great players, like from back then who rightfully deserve to be top 75. But I digress, y'all. What you got to think of this video? Let me know, comment down below. Leave a like, subscribe to your boy. You can check out my previous videos down here. Peace, love, and rock and roll.